All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting. This evening, we have 2 agenda items. First, I'd like to start with introductions of our council members in attendance, and I actually think we have all of our committee members today. Councilwoman Cabrera.
I am here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fields.
Present.
All right. And Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
All right. And I don't believe, I didn't see our council president on. So we do have all of our committee members. And I also will introduce Councilwoman Darby, who will also be presenting her legislation this evening to the committee. All right. So with that, we are going to start with our first agenda item, which is ordinance 21-29, which is an ordinance to amend chapter 40 of the city code regarding elimination of pre-employment drug screening for non-safety sensitive positions. Councilman Darby, will you be talking to that legislation this evening?
Yes, Chair, I will be talking about this legislation this evening. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of history on this piece of legislation. Back in January, when I first got in office, this is one of the first legislations that I had proposed to be drafted. And originally, it was to eliminate marijuana from pre-employment screening for city employees who were in non-sensitive positions. So that would include, safety sensitive positions. So police officers, firemen, people who operate trucks, certain positions, they are exempt from this, right? So initially it was for marijuana. As I was about to get it on the agenda and it was almost like fully done to go on the agenda, the administration announced that they're actually going to do a HR policy to actually eliminate pre-employment for all drug screenings for the city in regards to only non-safety sensitive jobs. So it's already an HR policy. It went into effect last month. So if you apply for a city job and it's a non-safety sensitive position, you do not have to do a pre-employment screening. So the purpose of doing a ordinance at this point is to just codify it, make it code, to just follow what the administration has done, just to make it on a legal end, and they did it on the HR policy end. So I'll open it up for questions or whatever's next.
And Councilwoman Darby, you did say that this is already currently within the code, you're just codifying it, is that correct?
Correct. It's already an HR policy. So it's already a policy that has been established through the mayor administration, as I was trying to make it to codify it. So
Right.
now it's codified just to follow along with what the administration has done.
Perfect, okay, all right, just want to make sure that was clear. And I see Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, I was reading the ordinance earlier to understand it, and it says here it's going to affect July 1st. So did it start June 1st or is it July 1st? Or does it already exist? And if we pass, yeah, I'm confused here on the date. Did it already start June 1st or July 1st? That's my question.
Yes. I would have to check on the date. It has not happened yet, like in the regards of it being codified, but I know our HR policy is already in effect, but it has not been codified yet. So I can check on the dates to confirm and make sure. I don't know if the law department is here or anyone is here to confirm the date in the legislation.
May I follow up, Madam Chair?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, so the section says here, whereas following a collaborative effort with the Department of Human Resources, the pre-employment drug testing policy has been revised to eliminate pre-employment drug screening for non-safety sensitive positions effective July 1st, 2021. So I guess with that, it answers the question that it's going to go into effect July 1st.
Yes, it will be codified along with the HR policy.
Okay, I'm still confused. Okay.
So it's, and I think Councilman Cabrera, I see what you're saying, but yeah, on here for section 3, it does say that the ordinance will go into effect July 1st.
So it would go into effect July 1st, even if it's not voted on until the first, is that our first meeting, July 1st? Because we would
Yes.
vote it out of committee today, and then it would go, we would have to vote on it July 1st.
Yeah,
Okay.
July 1st, yes, yep,
Got it. I'll let my other council members ask questions. I probably will have another one. Thank you.
yep, no problem. Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, I was basically, I think Maria said it best. When I did my research on it, it said that July the 1st, I was trying to reiterate that it's going to already be in effect on July 1st. So I just was wondering the purpose of, I guess I heard the answer. I guess so you're saying it seemed like it's all the same. I guess I was saying the same thing she said before she said it. Okay.
Gotcha. No, and I understand. So what you're both are saying, as far as the legislation is going on the agenda for July 1st, how would it go into effect July 1st? So I understand that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we may have to, and Councilwoman Darby, we may have to just go to law, it may need to be the day after, for example, just to showcase that if it passes, then it'll go into effect the next day or something. So we can go back and check that if you're okay with that, Councilwoman Darby.
Yes, I am okay with law department checking the dates.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Fields.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my question is, before we vote on anything, should we send it back to law before, beforehand? Just to make sure that everything is,
in order before it comes
Um,
out of committee?
Yeah, so I'll leave that up.
I mean, can we hold it?
I would have to leave that up to the sponsor of the legislation, which is Councilwoman Darby. And again, they could just make the change afterward before the full council vote on July 1st for our next meeting, but it's up to her if she wants to hold the legislation.
Okay, and can I follow up, Madam
Mhm.
Chair?
Yes.
So, my question to Councilwoman Darby, I get that you want to codify it, and I know that ordinance can be amended and changed. Do you think that, just my thought process, if it's not broke, then why fix it? So, if it becomes an issue that HR, they're not following their policy, so on and so forth, could we go back and look at the ordinance instead of just putting something in and, it hasn't even taken effect as of yet. So, I'm just trying to think, I get what you're saying, but, if it's broke, why, if it's not broke, why fix it? That's my question.
Yes,
Thank you.
I believe in working with the mayor administration on this and being proactive rather than reactive and waiting for something to happen and having to revisit this conversation. So while it's happening now, we might as well just do it on both ends, get it over and done with, and then we move forward. So I don't want to be reactionary and wait for something to happen to have to bring this up again.
Councilman Fields, does that answer your question or did you want to follow up on that?
Follow up, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's fine, and I get it. Why wait? But I just don't agree with it. So I get where you're coming from, but I just think that we don't need to push it right now. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep. Thank you, Councilwoman Fields. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Okay, so the policy has been put in place June 1st, and I understand why we're doing it, which I think is a good thing, because it is important that we don't eliminate people who could be excellent for a job because they might use medicinal marijuana or something of that nature. My other concern, though, with codifying this is that it takes, okay, I understand, we're codifying and putting that protection in place to affect so that people that come for a job will not be discriminated against for that reason. But at the same time, are we taking away the discretion of HR being able to go ahead and screen someone if they feel that person could possibly be a liability? There could be some issues. And historically, there have been some things that have happened in the city of Wilmington where we've had, and as quiet as it was kept, we had issues with theft, embezzlement, and things that happened. And it turned out to be employees that were not getting help, but employees that did have certain addictions. Some of it could have been prescription pills. Some of it could have been illegal drug use. So if we take away that discretionary power for the city to be able to test as needed, then does that put us in a place where we have greater liability when we hire employees that then could possibly do something? And even though, yes, they're not police, they're not fire, they're not in those essential jobs, but it could still create problems because of their behaviors. And it could be, again, that they need help. I don't want to discriminate against people who might have an addiction and could use that help. But that also puts us at a greater liability as a city and as the government. That's my concern. I want to wait to see how this works out for 1 year to see if we see any irregularities or anything that says, you know what, we really need to codify this because they're still, maybe partially discriminating by testing some people and not others. I mean, I guess I like the fact that that we're being proactive to not eliminate candidates because of that reason. But are we also putting ourselves in in jeopardy if we codify this versus it being just the policy. Because yes, a policy can be broken, a policy can be amended, or they can make an exception to the policy if they see the need to. But when we turn it and codify it and turn it into law, then our hands are a little bit more tied into what we can do, and then we can be sued for doing it. Those are my concerns. I'm just voicing my concerns.
Yes, thank you. So this is strictly for pre-employment drug screening. So this does not eliminate drug screening once you're hired, like if they suspect that you may be using drugs or not. So I want to make that very clear, because a lot of the scenarios you just gave were about people who were current employees in regards to if the city can drug screen or not. So the city will still be able to drug screen anyone who's a city employee if there is suspicions, if they feel like there is a need to. So this legislation is not about drug screenings after employment. This is strictly about pre-employment, where the statistics show that pre-employment drug screening does not do very well at identifying drug users at all. Most people, when they know they're having a drug test for employment, they do things to hide it. So a lot of times it is not caught during pre-employment. And one of the reasons why the mayor administration decided to go away with pre-employment drug screening altogether, they talked about some legal scrutiny that was being talked about on a national level about people having to be drug screened prior to being employed by employers, and that may result in legal issues down the line. So that's part of the reason why the mayor's administration did it, was in regards to a national conversation that was happening about pre-employment drug screening. So this legislation is specifically about pre-employment. We will still be able to drug screen at will, if need be, for all employees, sensitive and non-safety sensitive and safety sensitive positions. So I hope that cleared up what your concerns are.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman.
All right. Thank you both. And Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, that kind of like cleared up a bit of the question that I have as well. Because of the fact that it actually stated pre-employment, it was more so about whether or not we were still able to drug screen after the person was actually employed. So I just want to make certain, I guess, that I'm hearing this clearly. So basically, it's not about when you complete your application and go on an interview. Those, you will not have to go through that step in order to actually get employed. But once you're employed, at any time or whatever, if they feel as though that they need to screen or will screen or whatever, they can. I just wanted to find out whether or not this will be, you know how they do random screenings and all of that. Will that now become part of? Will that now become part of our policy now, because pre-employment is actually going away?
Yes, thank you. So random drug screenings or drug screenings at will at the discretion of an employer in the city already happen. So if there's a car accident or if they suspect that a person may be on drugs, they already do those types. But in regards to specifically a random, that has not been on the table or discussed at all. It was more, we're going to keep everything the same and get rid of pre-employment drug screening. So nothing would change in regards to how drug screenings happen after employment.
Okay.
Right.
I think that was all I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. Councilman Oliver.
Thank you. That's what my concern was. I wrote that question down. As Councilman McCoy said, I was thinking, would this hurt individuals? Will they be able to start? And I read the information, and it's kind of little unclear. I was wondering, is it going to hurt individuals? Because as she said, I don't want them to start, popping up drug tests, which is already there, but it kind of looks like it would give them more of authority or someone to say, look, I want to get you drug tests. So that was my concern also. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Councilman Darby, did you have anything else you wanted to say towards that, or?
No, just reiterating that this is pre-employment drug screening. The process for once your employee has not changed, there would not be there's not any additional random drug screenings happening. That would have to be an HR policy that I guess HR or the mayor administration, or if we come up with the resolution or ordinance, I guess, if we want random drug screenings, but that is something that will have to go through a process, nothing that can just be done. So any employment will remain the same for drug screening. However, this legislation is only for pre-employment, where all drugs you do not get screened for, as statistics show, one, that it does not identify drug users, and two, that there was some national conversation about even the legalities of employers pre-screening people for drugs. So this is what this is addressing, is not addressing. So that's why in the legislation, it doesn't talk about random drug screenings, because this has nothing to do with employment drug screening. This is this legislation is just specifically for pre-employment.
Got it. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, thank you for explaining everything. And I really do think this is good legislation where we don't want to discriminate against people because of some personal uses. And now with the way things are going, until, marijuana is legalized, people use medical marijuana, there's other, recreational use. So this is good, Councilman Darby. I definitely want to support it. These are my concerns. One, I really think we need to look at the date, because the legislation clearly states that this goes into effect July 1st. July 1st starts at midnight on July 1st. Our meeting is not till that evening. This isn't going to go through and be processed until the night that we vote. We can always, I understand, Chair, you're saying it could be amended after the fact, but I think that might be a legal question, and I don't know if there's anybody from legal. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can
You
hear you
able to
now.
hear me? Oh my gosh, I did all that talking and you didn't hear me. Darn it.
We just
The
heard
mute
the
button
part
got
two.
me.
We just heard you.
victim to the-
Yeah, we heard majority of
We
it,
heard you.
Councilwoman. Yeah, we heard most of it. Just you
Oh,
just
okay,
cut off
okay,
the
'cause then
last
it-
part.
Yeah, it was weird. Then the woman came on and told me that you guys were recording, and I'm like, I already knew that. All right, well then something happened with Zoom. Okay, so I was saying that I would feel more comfortable if we maybe waited till we came back from the summer session and revisited this at the next meeting. I feel like it would give us just a little more time. And at the same time, I am concerned about that start date, July 1st. I mean, if it said July 2nd, July 3rd, the legalities of it. And I don't know if there's anybody here from law that we can ask the question to get this through tonight. But I love the spirit of it, and I am supportive of it. I would like to revisit it. I almost would like to wait a year before we kind of codify it to see how things go. But I'm willing to look at it sooner than that. But I'm just not comfortable with voting for it today in this current form. But I am supportive of it. I love the idea, and I think we shouldn't discriminate against people because of that. The testing. That's
Yep.
it for me.
Okay, Councilwoman Cabrera. And no, we do not have anyone from law on currently. So we would have to wait for that. What I meant by that she could go back to law and do that before the July 1st and make the amendment. So that's what I was referring to. But again, this evening, we don't have anyone from law on. So, and again, it will be up to the sponsor as far as what she wants to do with her legislation this evening. So, Councilman Darby.
Yes, thank you. I think Daniel, our chief of staff, just entered, so I don't know if he'll be able to help answer the question in regards to if the amendment to the dates can possibly be changed for July 1st.
Hi, Councilwoman Darby. This is Daniel Walker. I would still say to get an opinion from law, but the information that Chairwoman Dixon provided is accurate. You can add it to the ordinance prior to its enactment.
Thank you, Chief of Staff. Councilwoman Darby, back to you. I don't see any other hands raised.
Yes, so I guess just some key things about the legislation. So I'm willing to get the amendments made to correct the dates. It is about being proactive, not reactive, and making sure that we are following with the some great things that the mayor administration might be implementing, making sure that we're protecting our employees, protecting our residents who do apply, and just making sure that this is only addressing pre-employment. So this has nothing to do with the after part. This is just stating that on a national level, there's conversation about even the legalities of pre-employment drug screening, and that also it really does not detect drug users. So it's not even effective. It could potentially save the city money from having to pay for people to go get these drug analysis completed for when they're onboarding. So it's a lot of great benefits to this legislation. And that also when we're looking at pre-employment, again, this is just pre-employment. Everything afterwards will remain the same. And this is only for non-safety sensitive positions that will be impacted. One already by the HR policy, and this codifying it just is being proactive and making sure that we're protecting our employees. So yes, I am looking forward to getting the amendments for July 1st for the dates.
All right. Okay, with that, I guess at this point, is there any other questions from council members before I ask if there's a motion to move this ordinance out of committee? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to move ordinance 21-29 out of committee?
I'll make a motion to move the ordinance out of committee.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Yay.
Nay.
All right, I am going to do a voice vote on that since there's multiple folks. So I am going to ask committee members for their vote. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Nay.
All right. Councilwoman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilwoman Fields.
Nay.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Nay.
All right. And then Dixon will be yes. The noes win as far as not being able to move this ordinance out of committee at this time. So which means that this will be held in committee for our next meeting. All right. And our next agenda item this evening will be our presentation by domestic violence ambassadors. And Dawn, will you be speaking to, and I know that you had a PowerPoint as well.
I will be speaking. Thank you. I just want to apologize. I'm having serious technology and Wi-Fi problems. So we had to take the car to Dunkin' Donuts. First, so I just want to thank Councilwoman Dixon for having me here to do this. I really appreciate your time. I just basically just want to kind of introduce what domestic violence ambassadors is and why. Myself, I'm a domestic violence victim in the state of Delaware, between Sussex and Newcastle County. And the infrastructure has failed me terribly on many different levels. Without going into great detail, I mean, from the initial call to reaching out to the different organizations to trying to get help, to safety, to being blamed, to being threatened to be locked up for something that I actually didn't do. It turned into a very 8 months of being told to lock my doors and my windows. And that was what my safety precautions that I was given. After that time frame, I was dead inside, basically. And I went to some very extreme measures. And I'm glad today that I didn't follow through with that. But after that event, I knew that I had to get involved somehow because I felt I needed to be a part of the solution. So, you know, and the way I see it, I would like to see all victims of domestic violence benefit from this. For me, it's not just about my case. I've started doing some research, basic research with Google Forms and tallying stuff up, and I have included that to add at the end. But the people that I talk to and they're running in, I'm finding that our barriers are all the same. And some people are very fortunate, and I'm going to be honest, it's generally the people who have children involved or actually have some sort of family basis, which again, a lot of us don't, that are in these types of situations. So the idea is to reach as many people as possible that have been touched by domestic violence. And that goes for, to extend us to the families of those that we've lost to the hands of the abusers. Next, please. So the goals of domestic violence ambassadors, they've changed quickly since November and partnering up with the Lions. Well, things have moved fast. Our goals that we initially had have just grown quickly. We've decided on the option of doing safe places versus safe spaces or safe houses, meaning that people that with children, the family's not re-traumatized and the family unit is not continually, you know, dissected, because a lot of times there's drugs involved. So the person that's being abused, that's the only, many times they turn to drugs to eliminate the fear that they're living with every day. And what happens now, we end up removing the kids. So we want to provide space where the family unit can start to heal together instead of fighting to bring them back together after the separations occurred. We're really big on building a platform for victims who are ready to speak out or want to speak out and start exposing all these secrets and the barriers. To advocate for victims. I'm not certified, and that is something I am working towards, but it doesn't mean I still can't be there and advocate as a victim. I'm very familiar with a lot of these things. Even right now, to be able to help somebody bypass a barrier that I know we can get from here to here in a simpler fashion is right now beneficial for some people. At the end of the day, I would like everybody that, you know, we work with to become certified, to be advocates, because the way I see it, that I believe the victims are probably the best people to advocate for this. I mean, of course, we need people from all levels to join and, you know, be a part of the cause. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, only the victims know what would have helped us in any way, shape, or form, because we lived through it. You know, we are currently working on building our own, I guess, something similar to what is already in place. However, given the fact that my experience with the being failed by the system and the infrastructure, I think I thought of we're putting our own group of people, professionals, just the same as the group that's already there, of retired people who are currently working in these fields, and most of all victims, to find out. The idea for me is, I don't understand, we need to get rid of the variables. You keep the age variables, you get rid of the relationship and the environment, because if I did something in Wawa to my partner, it's assault immediately. You go to jail, there's a charge. I go home and that happens in my home, nothing happens. It's in the house, there's no laws, there's nothing there to really truly protect the victims. And just to continue to advocate, educate, and raise the awareness of it, and start putting the pieces together with the recovery portion, with the gun violence portion, with all the different variables that are very much involved with, you know, domestic violence. Our mission is just to help as many people as possible that are touched by domestic violence, to support the victims and build resources to help them rebuild their life. Our slogan is that together, no one suffers alone. And I truly believe that, especially being a victim, it's really important to know that there's somebody relatable and just somebody that understands and believes you. That's one of the worst things. And the re-victimization is consistently happening every time victims reach out and get no assistance. Next, please. So our vision is to build a group of volunteers, advocates, investors, committees, and safe places to provide the support for the victims of transitional services and to build communities for survivors to thrive in safely, all while, getting their health in order, getting education if they need it, having learning pods for the kids if necessary, offering the recovery aspect from substance abuse aspect, just anything that can, the programming or the training even, but the programming for the trauma, to have that all available in one unique place is our ultimate idea. Like, that would just be so ideal in regards to, I think, really lowering the national and the state statistics. Next, please. So this is a list. I mean, you guys have seen a lot of the stuff that I've done, but we are actively, like I said, collecting information from victims, survivors, and the families thereof. And I think I shared that to be put up at the end, the results that we have so far. And we don't have a huge, people are afraid of retaliatory action with domestic violence. And that's because a lot of times we are threatened with the jail time while our abusers are let go. So the fear of retaliatory action is real, even if it's not justified, it's real. We are working on, we're currently involved, we've done table events. I did one speaking engagement. We're currently working on building future partnerships with several different people to include a community-based doctor's office that is completely run by females, that built from the community up for the community, just different community organizations that are action type, organizations that realize it takes an entire team to really tackle all the issues that are involved with this specific topic. We are currently doing safety bags. We've not yet reached them to be what we would like them to be. We would like to be able to get to the point where we can make an escape bag, meaning that it's a regular backpack that can, easily be packed, have all the necessities in it. We can make sure that the necessities are in there, the soaps, all the things you need for your day to day. And if they have children, we'll do children's bags so that they can have it packed, ready, hidden. And in case of that becomes a situation, they at least have enough to get through for, some time. It's a start. And then I already talked about the team. So we did the 2021 International Women's Day video. That was really our first big thing. Then we did the Real Talk, or the Jack Kim show. So we are really actively looking at some spaces to kind of maybe start implementing the idea of a safe place versus a safe house. And I guess that's kind of just where we're at this time. I think next, if you can go to the next one. So is there any way, Councilwoman Dixon, is there any way to put up that other, the one I sent that has those numbers?
WITN, do we have that capability to do that? Yep.
Yeah. So basically this is in regards to the questions. And like I said, we've only had 14 respondents at this point. But you can see if you go, so this just tells you the amount of people, but if you could go to the next. So, I mean, if you look at this, even on a small level, it's kind of scary that, were they allowed to press charges? 7 out of 14 were not. And if you read the extra added responses, I mean, this is just an idea of, I feel very strongly that there's a lot of numbers. I went and I've done a lot of research, and I'm not saying that this is happening, but knowing for a fact the impact that COVID has had on domestic violence, I don't believe a lot of the numbers I'm seeing to be accurate. And I say that because they're very much similar to the 2018, 19, and 20 numbers. They don't look reflective of what we're seeing in other reports. So I decided that I would like to start doing my own little bit of data researching, and this is kind of the way that I'm doing it right now. So I'm hoping that we get a much larger response over time, but you can just kind of scroll through it if you want, just so everybody can kind of see where it's at. I mean, people, we don't have much, we don't really have any solid infrastructure here for domestic violence. And the thing that concerns me the most is the variables. Why do we need the environmental and the relationship variable? If it's assault, it's assault. If it's attempted murder, it's attempted murder. That's the way I feel. I mean, I agree with the age variables, but the other variables are just basically people like myself and other victims out here hanging with really nowhere to go or turn. And to be told to just lock yourself in your house is just it's just not the feeling that you get having to do that and knowing that's your only choice because the safety measures aren't in place and the ones that are not being properly implemented. And at this point, I realize I do things a little unconventional compared to others, but having had the experiences I've experienced, I'm using those to build an organization that I feel is going to benefit victims in such a much larger way than what we currently have. So this was my first presentation, guys. So I do apologize for the ums and the carry-ons, but yeah, so this is what I had put together. I don't know that I was told that some of the team members might be able to also contribute. I don't know if that's still true, but
yeah, they can if you want them to, Dawn, before I go to council members for questions.
Okay, so I would like to invite Hayat to go ahead and share.
I don't know where she went.
Hayat's on. Hayat, you can't hear you though.
Can't hear you. Yeah. As she's fixing her audio, do you want to invite another team member to speak?
Actually, I do. You can go ahead if you want to take down the presentation, please. I've actually got a male ambassador that's in the car with me, also the secretary of DVA. And he is also, well, I'll let him explain his.
How you doing? I'm Rick Smith. I was victimized by my former wife back in 2001. My case carried from 2019 into 2000. And my divorce was final in 2001. It was mutually combative. And it was mutually combative because I had to raise my hands to defend myself as I was swung at to be slapped and punched. When the officers arrived at the house, I had made the call, and I made the call requesting a team that's similar to where the funding is going now, or being redirected to some of the mental health teams. Having been a Gulf War vet, I had some PTSD issues, and I reached out to the Harrington Police Department in Kent County. I was then separated, and she was then allowed to blow the whole thing way out of proportion. By the time it got to the courthouse and I saw the charges, after I was asked to put in my plea, because I told the officer the reason that I called him was because my wife at the time was swinging at me, and I have PTSD, and I did not want to have a flashback and do her harm. because there was no domestic abuse laws in play, I had to be removed for domestic violence because I've raised my hands above my waist to block her and protect myself. Having talked to numerous other men, this happens on a regular basis, where the officers, and we're actually trying to get, through a Freedom of Information Act, the the actual procedures that the state uses in training. Because after talking to numerous other men, they're removed from their homes. The next step in the process is to go get help. The help that's out there are organizations such as Child Inc. And what ends up happening is in those situations, whoever is residing in the home and currently taking care of the children is then provided legal assistance and representation of the children.
Did you have representation?
I couldn't get representation because none of these organizations would even allow me to petition for custody of my children because I was male. I'm sorry, we don't represent men, is the response I got. So over the next 10, 15 years, I've talked to other men, and this is currently the things that are still in place. Without domestic abuse laws and ordinances, there is no recourse to prevent a situation like the one I had. I couldn't call the authorities and ask my wife removed from the house. But when her paperwork came through family court, it was a list of abuses and no violent action in her PFA. So nothing was consistent, and the inconsistencies weren't noticed within the infrastructure that's in place. And as much as I adore and respect women, there seems to be a targeted effort at this point to keep men's children out of their hands in abusive situations. And I'd really like to see some of those changes happen. And so we have a whole team here together of how we can implement these things and be fair and just and equal within a representation of our legal structure. Because it's just not there right now. And that's my big issue, is there's nothing with abuse to prevent further violence in a situation where you have men who are shamed for their response or them reaching out for help once they get into the system. Oh, she's 105 pounds. How'd she hurt you? You're 280. These are some of the responses that officers actually give. The bottom line is that the fingerprints are on my face. I was assaulted, period. My gender doesn't matter. And that's just where I'm, as a male advocate, that's where I want to be able to be for both men and women, is to be able to look at the equality in the situation and look at the laws in a manner that will represent both of them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing your story.
I fixed if I can just quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm just thank you for giving us this opportunity. I myself, I'm not a survivor, but I'm a supporter, because I see this as a community engagement specialist, person who works out in the community, being president of Lions Club and all that. I see this and I get calls. And that's why, Dawn and Rick has beautifully stated their case of what an actual survivor is. Now, I just want to be a supporter and see what we can take and help them. And it's just about the victims, from the victim's point of view, or where the gap is, feeling that, finding it, investigating it, and finding a hole. And that's what we represent, and that's what we want to do. So that's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you all. for joining us this evening. And I know Dawn was very nervous about doing this because it was her first one. But I think you did a good job, Dawn, on your first presentation on this important work. So I know I do see a hand from a few council members, so I want to get to them next. Councilwoman Cabrera.
Thank you so much. I just want to say to everyone that spoke today, you're so brave. Thank you for coming forward, not only sharing your personal experiences, but the fact that you decided that I'm not going to be a victim. I am going to be proactive and I'm going to go out and I'm going to help others. Just want to say thank you for being brave and for doing that. Domestic violence is one of those dirty little secrets that get hidden in the closet, and it's time that we shed more light to it. I think we've come a long way, but not far enough with the way that we look at things. I remember when police officers used to come to the door, and because it was domestic violence, they didn't get involved. Oh, domestic violence between a couple, not understanding the real danger. I think that some of the statistics that we really need to get out there is how many women die, and not just victims, because we know that men can be victims too, and men have been victims who have also been killed by women. How many of the domestic violence victims actually die at the hands of their partners? And many times there is a PFA and they still come back. I mean, you read the news, it's there every day. I would certainly recommend really pushing those numbers even more. I love what you had said when they're not even reporting, and the fact that they're not pressing charges and allowing you to press charges, that brings me some concern. So I think that as council members, elected leaders, and the little bit of power that we have bestowed upon us, that is something that we need to get more involved to find out what is happening. Is there legislation that needs to be introduced on a state level that we can urge and push for with our representatives to make sure that there is equality along the board with that? The other number I'm interested in seeing is how many women are in prison because they retaliated against their attackers, and now they're in jail for 20 years because they killed their attacker, but that's all they could do to defend their life at that point. It's self-defense. So, why are the lines of self-defense so shady in the eyes of the public when it comes to this? And as we see more men becoming victims who are restraining themselves because they don't want to take action, they are also being killed by the hands of their partners. Can't have this gender discrimination, because we all know that right now we're being so accepting and open with everyone. We need to also bring that enlightenment that society's finally having to this issue. I love that you put those little safety bags together. I think when you started talking about the safety bags, that's the part that kind of made my stomach cringe at the thought that somebody's so scared for their life that they have to escape, that they have these backpacks and these safety bags. And when children grow with this, in this kind of environment, sometimes they too become the perpetrators because this is what they saw. And these are, again, more statistics that will show that. But please count on my support for that. And I'm sure my other council members. This was a really important and a great presentation. I'm so glad you had the guts, the courage, and also the ability to get to Dunkin' to make sure you had that signal so you could share that with us. But please keep up the good fight and count on us as being your warriors along your side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cabrera. Councilwoman Fields.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that you did a very good, Dawn, you did very well. I know you were nervous, but you did very good. Thank you for giving us that information. Stay strong, keep your head up. You're in a good fight, and just keep up the good fight. And just know, what you're doing is not in vain, because there are other women out there that are facing the same thing that you're facing, and they don't have a voice. And you are that voice for them. So continue to stay encouraged and continue to do your outreach like you've been doing. Keep up the good work. Thanks for and thank you all for being here tonight to tell your story. It's not easy to tell your story. So thank you. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there any other comments or questions and from council members? Councilwoman McCoy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too just wanted to thank those who actually appeared. We've actually in families, outside and really in intimate, we've seen issues of domestic violence, and we do hope that presentations like this will finally get us some of the, some of the effectiveness that you need when it comes to how we approach this, on the justice side.
Thank you.
And we know that also, and I feel like I heard a lot more stories too during the pandemic, especially as people were locked in within houses, and a lot of domestic issues happened during that period of time also. And, again, as Dawn alluded to, when she was telling her story to me and trying to just understand what all the legalities and all the issues that are happening, and how we can most, support the work that she's doing. Just wanted to make sure that, her voice and the voice of her team and individuals who are also affected have a platform where they can, make sure that is something that they're doing, and how they can help advocate for not only for themselves, but for everyone else that they're advocating for as well. So Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes, one quick question. In the middle of my statement, I did have a question, and you may or may not have this.
You're going in and out. Your signal's going in and out, Councilwoman Cabrera.
Against their partners, or even to the point that they took their life in self-defense. I would really love to see those numbers. If you have, if not,
I actually am having a really difficult. If you go and look, and I'm telling you, when I say I spend hours doing research, I mean, the numbers, it was really odd. I was complaining to many people, why are the numbers so outdated? Like, and specifically for our state, they're like more outdated even than other states by like, at that point, it was like 5 years. And I'm thinking, wow. And so I'm trying to do this without being disrespectful, but the numbers for the state are being reported. And every year it just looks like the bottom, the date was changed, right? There was no like fluctuation if you look back at it. And you go out to the national level and you start researching those numbers. Now I can tell you that every single person I've talked to has either attempted, or I put my suicide, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I skip past this without going into depth, but in 2 weeks will mark a year since I put my live suicide on Facebook as a social media event because I was dead inside. I had had enough and I wasn't living. Like, to be dead doesn't mean blood and gore. I did it, and I started, and I realized when my phone, a couple hundred people come on, and I realized when my phone blew up that I made a mistake, so I left the state. That quick, they noted me as nationally missing and endangered because I tried to kill myself and he tried to kill me. It was okay. That's what I took from that.
I'm so
so
sorry this happened to you. Yeah. So you know what we'll do is I'm going to push for the on real numbers. But thank you so much for sharing your personal story. I know it's painful, but you sharing it and bringing your pain is going to help others to come forward, and for people like myself and others to take stronger action. So thank you again. You're so brave.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys. I apologize. There's times it's hard. But I just really want to say thank you for all of you for giving us this time and believing in what I'm doing. It means a lot.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Is there any other last comments or anything else from council members? All right, seeing none. Thank you again, Dawn and team, for joining us this evening and telling and talking more about what the domestic violence ambassadors are doing. And we look forward to working with you alongside of you as you do this work and support you for what is happening within the state. So thank you again. Continue to know that we're allies with you and want to support you how best we can. And Dawn, you always know where to find me. So, so if you need continued support, please let us know. And we're happy to have you back at any time. If you wanted to share more stories or statistics or things that you found, we were more than happy to have you back to do that. So again, thank you to you all. That is our last agenda item for this evening for our Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting. Thank you again for everyone who attended and also all of our viewers. I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, everyone.
I know everybody's on mute. We're all our lips are moving, but you can't hear us.
Everybody's trying to get the button.
It's okay. I got it. You all have a great evening, and
We
thank
need a
you.
second.
Yeah, we had a second. Councilman McCoy seconded.
All righty.
So you all have a great evening, and we will actually see you in September is when our next meeting for this committee. So again, enjoy your summer break, and we will see you soon back here at Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee in September. Have a great evening, everyone.
All right, you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.